Hello and welcome back to another LEGO Star Wars review. This time I'm here with set 75092, the Naboo Starfighter. It was released on June 1st, 2015, has a piece count of 375, is rated ages 8 to 14, and includes 7 minifigs, 9 if you count the Droideka. The N1 Starfighter, made on Naboo, was pretty much exclusive to this planet, and it made its debut in The Phantom Menace. Of course, we all know about young Anakin taking down a Trade Federation space station almost completely by accident with this ship. But something a little maybe less known is the fact that its tail was actually used as somewhat of a charger, setting into its port whenever it was in its docking bay, and its engine tails acted as heat sinks. It was the perfect marriage of art and function that was present in Naboo technology, and it showed the royalty of Naboo as well, complementing the royal starship that Padme used, the all-chrome one. And generally it would be one of my more favoured ships from the whole of Star Wars. I'd say my top two would be this one and the Republic gunship. And just a little look at the back of the box here. I have briefly gone through it in the unboxing video I've done, but if you don't want to watch that at all, if you're not interested in unboxing, I'll give you the view of it here. Now we can just show you some of the action here. So we've got some droideka there, one rolling, one not. We've gotten him, the pilot here is locked up and he's trying to get his gun out, which is kind of sneaky. You can see that it comes with a little device to fuel it up and a little kind of carrier there for its weaponry as well. As you can see, it shows that it comes with stairs here so that the people can climb up into the cockpit, which is nice and handy. R2-D2 of course fits in the back there. Going on from that, we can see that they can both fit in there. It shows that the stand can do a 360 turn like its previous version, but this one is a lot more sturdy. And just a little unusual here is animated, because this is not like the way LEGO moves, so clearly it's done on a computer. These little pictures, which we haven't seen a lot of. Like, I've gotten sets that have been discontinued in the past and like older sets and stuff, but these are not the real set at all. Like, it's not pictures of the physical set, it is animations. And down here for some reason we can see Star Wars Rebels minifigures, also animated, but I mean, I'm not sure why that is. And you can see some spring-loaded shooters there popping out. But it's just kind of odd to see it all laid out like that. Like, we haven't seen much of the sets like that. I don't know if we've seen it since, and we didn't really see it beforehand, I don't think. But yeah, I suppose we can get into the review now. So, as per usual, we start off with a little overview of the entire set and what it comes with. But I suppose now we can start off, as per usual, with the minifigures. This is the droid commander, and the only difference you will see with this guy is that he has a printed head. So the rest of the body can be just interchanged with any other droids. If any parts of him break, it's fine, because as long as the head stays intact, you will always have a droid commander, which is pretty cool. I like the orange on it. It sits in there pretty well to the tan. Like, sometimes maybe even blends in too well, but it is interesting to see. And otherwise, the body is the exact same since 1999. The only thing actually that has changed since 1999 is you can see the arm there, his right arm on your left. He can hold a gun in the right position. He comes with a gun, of course. All of the droids do come with a gun. But on the old 1999 ones, he only had two of these arms here. And he didn't have this one, so he wouldn't hold it in the right orientation. Moving on swiftly now to his two little minions. And as I said, they're the exact same since 1999, apart from one small piece, which is their arm. I'm just going to give you a look at them. I'm not actually going to describe them in too much detail. They have a little bit of moulded kind of dents on the back of their head there for realism a little bit. And if you want, you can put a backpack on them. I used to put a backpack on all of mine, which included a 1x2 tan plate and a black antenna on one of those on one of the studs on it, and that was literally all it was, just to give them a little bit of a backpack, because they do have a backpack in the actual movies and I think in the animation as well. But we can move on swiftly because there's not much to say about these two guys. So, Obi-Wan Kenobi looking pretty well here. We see very nice leg printing on him here to kind of signify his robes going down to a little further than they should, than just the top, which is great. If you want to have a little bit more detailed look at his belt, you can see there that there's a few more lines than has been in the past, and it's a little bit more detailed than it ever was, which is great to see. Great to see them putting a little bit more effort into it. I think they've done that on the Anakin as well, but we'll get into Anakin. And of course, you can see his little Padawan dread there as well, coming down from the side, which is one of my favourite parts about his whole look in episode 1, is that he has that one single dread. And we don't see that a lot. We see it with Anakin in the next episode, but we don't see it a lot other than the two main characters we have there. Now, I'll give you a look as well at the back of his head here, the other print he has on. He has an angry face there, which is quite interesting to see because, you know, the other times he either has like a smile and a worried face or something to do with that, but this is a worried face and a full-on angry face, so that's kind of good to see there. I actually like the angry face more so. And another thing that I kind of realized with this Obi-Wan figure is that if you have a look there, you see that it's Obi-Wan specifically because of the chin, you know, which is kind of captures Ewan McGregor, the actor's kind of face in there. Just these little details kind of make it all worthwhile with Lego, you know. And just another kind of feature I can show you, well, not feature, but another fact I'll show you, that his back is also printed with a little pouch there on his belt and a little thing there, of course, to keep it all together. It's very nice to see that they did actually print the back, even though they knew it was going to be covered by the cape, which is, you know, it's always good to see them do. And of course he comes with his lightsaber as well, the blue lightsaber. I don't think he's ever owned a green one. I think he's always been blue, whereas Anakin kind of switches between the two. Very happy with this minifigure. I think it's a very nice one, to be honest, a very nice representation of episode 1 Obi-Wan. I suppose now we can move straight on to Anakin. Anakin Skywalker here from episode 1, young Anakin Skywalker, just as he is released from slavery on Tatooine. So he's still in his slave rags, which is, you know, interesting. But I mean, we've seen this exact Anakin, maybe not at all, but we've seen the general idea of him hundreds of times over. There's a good few Mos Espas he's in. He's in a good few Naboo Starfighters and just general episode 1 sets that have been released. And he seems to always have the same generalized print. Now, like, they have added on to it in the past. You see under his belt there's a few extra lines. But other than that, you can see that the collar is a bit more detailed as well. And a few more frills on him. You can see that he has maybe a better depiction of his freckles there as well. A cool little expression on him. And a little bit of back print in there. Just as Obi-Wan, he has a little couple of pouches on his back there too, on his back of his belt. And I think, I'm not sure, is it new that they've added in a little bit of the cuff of his shirt to that as well, to the back of his head as well. Now we can show you a look at the back of his head, just because there is, from these sets onwards, always a print on the back of their head. Now this one looks a little sad. I'm not sure why sad, unless it's just a plain expression that they tried to do and, you know, completely void of any emotion there. Or to be honest, I think he looks more a little bit sad. I think they kind of missed the mark on that one and just made him full on depressed. But we can go with a nice happy look here in front if you don't like that face. It's nice to see them doing 2 prints, because it gives just a lot more options when it comes to playtime for the kids. And to be honest, I would have loved this when I was a kid as well. I'm not sure was I in the playing stage whenever they released the idea of putting 2 faces, 2 expressions on it. But yeah, just the same as Obi-Wan. It's a very nice figure. I'm kind of very happy with it. I would be happier if I haven't already obtained a load of young boy Anakin Skywalkers. And of course, I forgot to mention he comes with his helmet. And now this helmet is, I'm really just sick of it at this stage. It's a good helmet. Don't I'm not gonna lie. It's a good helmet. It's fine. It does what it needs to do. It kind of looks like the Naboo helmet. Kind of looks like one that you'd use for is it cricket they use it for? And the goggles. I mean, it's just the only reason is I have 100 of these, and it's just kind of I'm really sick of them at this stage. There's just nothing new with the whole thing, you know. And of course, you can put the helmet on as you please, whether you want to or not, and you can put up and down the goggles, which is, a feature that we've seen again since 1999. I think the helmet is the exact same, maybe a stronger material, but that's definitely all they've changed. Like, I mean, the mold is the exact same. But what can I say? I'm not bad mouthing it. It does what it needs to do. I will say, however, in the previous version of the Naboo Starfighter that was released, whenever he has his hair on and the helmet isn't on, he has like a very clear, plain, no colour one of these that goes into the helmet that he kind of holds on to, which is kind of a shame to see them taking that out because it was handy. Otherwise, he cannot hold the helmet. Again, happy with the figure. We can move on now to the Naboo pilot. So on to the Naboo pilot now, and to be honest, I think this is my favorite minifigure out of the whole set. Just because it's actually one that's caught my eye, and one hasn't caught my eye like this in a long time. As soon as I saw the torso come out of the bag, I realized it was very well done. Like, I love the colors that are involved in it. The attention to detail in it is very nice. You can see there that he has um, his harness is kind of on perfectly, and his collar there is flicked out perfectly as well, because the collars do actually flick out like an old greaser or something as well. The undershirt is a lovely color. I'm not sure if this picture does it justice, but it is very nice. And also, it's very nice to see them do a back print on this guy, because the last one was just mediocre, and the one before that was poor, but the last one was, it was okay at best. But this one I think is fantastic. It really is. They've put a lot of detail into this one, and it's just I think it's actually one of my favorite torsos to date. Now for a look at the back print of his head, we have nothing. We have nothing. We have only one print for this guy's face, and that, I suppose, is how you know he's not Obi-Wan Kenobi. Of course, you can say by the chin there, he is not Obi-Wan, but he's not a main character, so he doesn't get a special back print, which I think is kind of weird, because you could have a worried face for whenever he is in his retrospective handcuffs that he comes with, and then a kind of this face on the front then to do whenever he's flying, determined, like, oh, I'm going to get you. And then, on the other side, maybe a worried face because he's all locked up and he's like, oh no, I'm worried. But, that's just something I think they could have done extra with. The heads are done separately to the torsos, so I kind of sound a bit whiny now by saying that, because I am so delighted with how much they've done on the torso. So it's not really a big deal that he doesn't have a back print on his head. Also, it's not really a big deal to me, because I'm going to be displaying him in the Starfighter anyway, and I would have made him wear this face regardless. And of course, he comes with guns, but I'll show you where he doesn't actually come as a figure with guns. Guns come in the set that he can use, but we'll get on to that whenever we're doing the mini builds first. But he does come with a set of handcuffs, and if you want to see how that works, it works pretty well. In fact, I think it's a very good one, because I don't know when they made these handcuffs, but it does actually. It's a great toy for kids. Like, I know Ava used to love putting them in handcuffs, and then like putting the bad guys in handcuffs, of course, and then like throwing them away or whatever. And it's simple enough to use. It's kind of bendier than the other plastic, so it's not actually going to snap off, because I think if it was too hard, it would actually just snap. But no, it's a bit more rubbery, so it's not as bad. And if you want, you can take it off. And I'm not sure if you can actually attach it to anything else. You probably can. I haven't tried, but that's not saying you can't, you know. Um, yeah. All in all, a great figure. Definitely one of my favorite in the entire set. Maybe one of my favorite in the entirety of Star Wars mini figures, but it's definitely up there. They've done a very good job on that torso. Now the legs, they could have done a little bit more on the legs. I think maybe just pockets or something. But you know, again, it's not really that big of a deal when they've gone to that much trouble for the torso. I'll just give you another look at the back of the torso there because it is just kind of mad to see them do that much. I mean, like it's nice. It's nice to see it done. Um, so yeah, I guess now we can move on to R2D2. Now, the rare R2D2, the one figure that we never get anywhere, but we get in every second set. R2D2. In this one, I will say that his torso isn't much different to the rest. It's maybe a bit updated, but there's not much you can really do with the torso. No back printing on the torso. I don't know, do you need it? Would be nice to have a little bit, like, sure, you could put a couple of lines back there to make it look a bit more realistic, but the real selling point here for this figure is the chrome top. It's not like grey, but it's actually silver, and it's not white with a small bit of grey up the very top. It's silver, which it should be. You know, it's chrome. It's, well, not, maybe not chrome, but it's silver. It's the way it should be. This particular one has lavender dots just under the eye there, and just on that wee circle there, you can see right there in the middle, it's lavender dots instead of red dots. And the head came out around, oh sorry, what was it? 2014 it was. Just the year before this set was released. Now, there's not much to say about the ever-changing R2D2. They do change it every now and then. It hasn't changed that much, but it's always kind of, you know, it's always in the sets. Everybody knows it. If you don't have one, I'd be surprised. Let me see, is this one of the rare ones that it actually has printed the circle the full way around nicely? To be honest, they've done a good job of the quality control there. We can really tell by the top. That's pretty accurate. See, a lot of the other ones, I'm not sure is it a problem with one of the newer style heads, but it's always kind of off center. It's never really aligned properly. But it's nice to see that this one is. Again, there's not much I can say about this figure because you probably have one. If you even have one or two Lego Star Wars sets, you probably have an R2D2 already. So I can just move straight on to the bonus figures that aren't on the box, but I still consider them figures because they're droids and destroyer droids or droidicas. They are hideous, to say the least, in my opinion. I think they should have stuck with the original one, in my opinion, from the original gunship, Republic gunship. And it was also in a few other kind of sets around 1999, but I think they should have really stuck with that one. It was fine. So both of the droids are the exact same. They have stickers on the back here, and those little tiles that are kind of, I think they're hard to get nowadays. Well, maybe not hard to get, but you can't get them off the Lego site anymore. I've tried because I need to get replacement ones for a different set for one of the gunships. But not getting into that now. They use some cool pieces in it, I will say, like this gun here and the binoculars kind of used nicely there. I think I put them on wrong actually. We'll just give you this one because it's a bit nicer. This is the way they should be done. And this chrome, well, my daughter calls them spider webs, so I've just continued to call them spider webs. I think it's very nice there, and the claw legs are actually very nice as well. The head, it's there. I mean, that dot is really not that big in real life, in like what it should be. But we'll not get into that. This is where it kind of gets hideous, is around here. And, well, to be honest, it never really didn't get hideous. It's always been hideous. So they say you can fold it up, and I'm going to try and do that now. I'm not sure how it goes, but let's give it a shot. So you can kind of get there, you know, but it's still a bit kind of gammy. they don't really fold into the proper balls. Like, you can pretend that they roll now, which is great, but when they roll into a ball in the movies, they really go into a circle. And to be honest, it's better depicted. I'm going to leave him to the side and take out him, who's nice and ready. It's better depicted, I think, in the oldest 1999 Destroyer droid. But there's not really much else to say on this guy, I think. I don't like him, but he's good for the sake of them trying to evolve and not just giving you something that's a bit stale. So well done for that, but again, it's just definitely not my favourite droid. So I suppose now we can move on to the review of the builds. So, getting on to the mini builds now, and starting off with the smallest as per usual and getting on to the biggest. From a display point of view, first off, I will say that this is a decent addition if you want to recreate the whole scene of the Naboo hangar, and getting a few more of these might not be a bad idea, because if you look at the Naboo hangar, there is something like this in the hangar, I think. It does open, you will see, and on the inside it has a few little guns in there for your Naboo Starfighter pilot, which is a pretty handy and a good play feature, and it's the only reason the Naboo pilot doesn't actually get a gun is because the set comes with, is it 3 or is it 4? I thought it was 4, it's 3, but you know, it's a good addition to the set. Playability, it is pretty decent, you know, because it hides all the guns in there, and it makes a good addition to the whole play and pretend kind of aspect to it. And as I said, displayability, it would be good if you got a few more of these, like, you know, spare parted them out on Bricklink, to kind of recreate the Naboo Starfighter, the Naboo hangar scene. The fuel tank, it's not really a tank, it's I'm not sure what to call it at all, but it's for fuel. It's interesting because it has this dial here, which is nice for playability, because you can put your characters, of course, standing in front and, you know, pushing the buttons and stuff. It is nice for displayability because it has this translucent green piece here, and it also has, I'm just going to take this off the clip and show you, it has two translucent yellow pieces there as well, down there, which is pretty interesting to see. I like that. I'm a sucker for translucent pieces. So for playability, it's great because it has that, again, imaginative point of view there. Really helps out the role-playing aspect of playing. From a display point of view, it's good because if you want to recreate the Theed hangar, which is the hangar that the Naboo starfighters come from, this is a nice addition because it's a fueling tank and you can put it into the engine and, you know, make a kind of little animated scene out of the thing. Now we're going to move on because these are small parts. The ammunitions carrier is a pretty nice build. It's small, but it's fairly sturdy. It has the corner pieces that attach onto the underside, which allow you to put tiles on the side and back, which kind of makes it feel like a nice kind of solid build. Now, one thing I will say is it has wheels instead of those kind of circly tiles that underneath that help it slide. These ones actually wheel, so that is a good point for playability. Maybe not for displayability, because if it's on any kind of a slant, it might start rolling over time, fall off the shelf, you know. And otherwise, for displayability, I don't particularly like these missiles being displayed at all, because they're supposed to be like, you know, lasers. You know, they're supposed to shoot lasers, and these, like, lasers aren't physical things that you can hold. So this is why it bothers me a little bit. But for playability, it's pretty interesting. And if you wanted to take them off, maybe replace them with something that, like, doesn't irk you the same way. Or else, if you don't care about it and you just kind of use them as torpedoes that are a cool color, then it's fine. But for playability, they're interesting because, of course, it's always good to have spares of these when they do go far and might go under couches and missing. But that is, but all in all, I do like the build. It is a nice addition, but mainly for the play aspect of the set. And that brings us on to the stairs. Now the stairs, I'm not sure why it has this kind of antenna on the top of it, but it's an interesting little build because to keep it up it uses kind of balance, and it, like these pieces here make it all balance out very nicely, which I think is a very interesting way to do that. They could have done a different way, but they chose to go with this one, and I really appreciate that. There's not much to say. For playability, it works. It goes right up to the cockpit, which is very good for playability, and displayability as well if you want to, again, recreate Theed Hangar. Overall, a nice addition to the set. For play aspects, it is very active. There is a lot going on. As you can see here, it does come with a lot of small builds, but this one really kind of knocks it out of the park for playability, especially compared to all of the previous N1 Starfighters. So, on to the Starfighter. The Starfighter comes with a stand, and the stand allows it to be displayed on any kind of axle that you want. I mean, generally you can display it on any way you want as well, but if you wanted to kind of spin it for a play aspect, if you wanted to spin it into the right orientation and then fly away, that would be one thing you could do for playability, which is great, you know. But from a display point of view, it is the best Naboo Starfighter we've had by a good bit. To be honest, I thought it would be only a small difference between this and the last one, but it seems to be a rather big difference. Even only with small pieces, it really knocks every other one out of the park. Display wise, you can display it kind of any way you want, really. If you wanted to recreate Theed Hangar, that would be one thing you could do, and you can animate it kind of in that sense. If you wanted to display it, for example, with R2-D2 in it, it is one of the more smooth ones to do this with, because once he slots in there, he kind of fits in there nicely and kind of smoothly, really, you know. He doesn't poke out like he does in the last one. The previous one before the last one, the second last one they built, was kind of like this as well, where he kind of fits in there nice and subtly. But the first two, I think he is kind of a bit of an eyesore and just kind of sticks out there, which is disappointing, but you know, we get what we're given, and at the time, that's kind of all they could really do. The change on the engines and tail of this rod being used instead of the other longer ones is a welcome change, to be honest. Once I seen it on the box, I was disappointed because I liked those the antenna that they used to use, but these are definitely more sturdy. They don't fall off as much once you hit them. They don't like fire off, which is pretty great, and they kind of look a bit fresher as well. They look a bit smoother on the actual build because the other antenna have a ball on the top of them, and that the Naboo Starfighter is sharp points on the top of them. From the display point of view, I would rate it high compared to the rest of them, but there is one little flaw I will mention, that this grey tile just sticks out, and it shouldn't, but it kind of just sticks out like a bit of a sore thumb there. And another thing, if it's something that might bother you, the Naboo pilot doesn't actually fit in there on any studs. He's actually just sitting in there on some tiles, so he can wiggle about there, but he doesn't all that much. But he definitely, like, he's not, it's another thing that irks me, I suppose. It's another thing that I don't really like about the set. If you want to just have a little look in there, you can see that those two studs, the two black studs in there, are actually indented, so they're for Anakin Skywalker to stand on, as opposed to the Naboo pilot sitting on them. But at the end of the day, he does still fit in there pretty well. One thing I will say they could have done is they could have gone with a brighter cockpit piece and it would have been fine, but for some reason they went back steps and went for the darker cockpit piece, which is, it's okay, but still would have preferred a little bit more vision there. It just looks a bit more clean whenever you do it that like that and keep it clean. Now the underside of the thing is worth mentioning. It has, as you can see, a small little gap in there for the stand to slot into, which makes it actually fit in there pretty well. On the other one, on the previous one, it does actually fit in there pretty similarly, but I think it's just a little bit more sturdy on this one. They have improved on that. You can see the spring-loaded shooters there actually shoot from this. If you go left or right, they fire out. And again, with any other spring-loaded shooters, there is good distance on it. And if you want, you can push down on this thing with R2-D2 in there, and he'll fire out of the thing as well. You can do it while the Starfighter is facing up, but while it's facing upside down, I will just give you a little look at that. Just a little word on the stand over here. It is a lot more sturdy than the last one, because the last one was a 1x1 little rod coming up connecting it, and this is a 4x4 circle connecting it, so it's a lot more sturdy. Doesn't actually wiggle around as much, and to be honest, it looks nicer. It looks clunky, and I like that. Not even clunky, but just thick, and again, not hollow. Nice and sturdy there, so it's not going to fall off once it's in the landing position, which is pretty nice. From a collector's side of view, I would say the best point of this is the fact that it looks the best, and it can be kind of moved around with ease, and there's a nice bit of gap there between it and the floor, or the surface that it is going to be sitting on, which is interesting. It's nice to have there. Also, from a display point of view, these blue rings look great on it, I think, in person especially. And again, with all the little builds that it comes with, you could recreate a scene from Teed Hanger, and if you wanted to like make your whole shelf based on that scene, that would be pretty interesting too. If you wanted to get a little Darth Maul and recreate the scene where Anakin flies the ship for the first time, that would be one way you could do it. And from a play point of view, I will say it's decent, because you can pick it up from the middle. You can really pick it up from anywhere. It is a sturdy enough build, and unlike the other ones, as I said, these sticks at the back don't fall off that easily. They're quite sturdy in there, and it has two spring-loaded shooters, which is quite easy to use with that little flick there. Also, the R2-D2 popping up out of it is... It's pretty interesting, especially when he lands like that. That surprised me. But yeah, you can open up the cockpit a lot easier than the last versions of it. You can put up and down the goggles on the pilot, which is always good. To be honest, I wouldn't really flaw this very much for playability at all, and very slightly for collectors. So, that does it for my review of the Naboo Starfighter. I think it is definitely a great upgrade. Great for a display point of view, because it looks fantastic, and it is very good opportunity for scene building. And I think it's great for playability, because it's a nice addition of builds to it, and it's swooshy and sturdy, and it has a few play features that are just useful in the whole play setting. Thanks for watching my video, guys. Really appreciate it. If you liked the video, leave a like down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and comment if you think I can do anything better or have done anything good. Thanks again, guys. See you later. Take care.